Hey everyone, let's talk about the slab technique. The slab technique is a technique in which you use a rolling pin and some slab sticks to roll out kind of thin pancakes of clay. And things you can create with those are tiles. And these tiles are three-dimensional, they're not just flat. This one's just square. You can cut out shapes from that tile. You can make, this is a nameplate in the shape of a moon. This is a different way to make a nameplate that's more three-dimensional. This is all done with slabs. And you can also make boxes and clay houses. Those are a little more involved, but it's definitely doable. So here's one example. With this technique, I am using a small drop cloth rather than a clay board. What I have noticed is that on the clay board, when I try to flatten out my clay and roll a pancake or a slab with it, with my rolling pin, the clay tends to stick to the board. So I'm just going to use a little drop cloth for this technique only. Now I start by standing up, push your seat under the table, and I use just the palm of my hand to flatten out the piece of clay. I take slab sticks, make sure they're the same size. Now I'm just going to be rolling a thin slab. So this is the thinnest size I have, and you can see they're red on both sides. This is just to help color code it so you know you have two that are the same thickness. And I have a rolling pin. Don't worry about the handles. I never use the handles on my rolling pin. I just put my hands here. If you have handles, just ignore them. And I'm going to use my body weight to kind of flatten out that clay. Those of you that have done some baking, you may have practice using a rolling pin. Now your goal is to roll out a slab that's big enough for what you would like to make, okay? I always recommend, especially if you want to make something that's uniform, meaning the same on all sides, like a square or a rectangle, that you cut out a template first. Now for me, I'm just going to use this piece of paper as my template. This is really small. For you guys, if you want to make something bigger, you're going to need a much bigger piece of paper, okay? So I have my slab. I'm going to trace the shape of my template. Once I have it traced, have a look at it, make sure that I like it before I start cutting it. Now, if you don't like it, the nice thing is you can take your slip and you can just erase it and do it again. This is pretty good though, so I'm just gonna go with it. Now, I'm gonna be honest, if you do an organic shape, something that has curves, it usually comes out a little bit nicer, only because it's hard to keep this really straight edge when you're working with clay. I like to cut little pieces at a time. It's just a little easier. Okay. All right, so now I have my square. I just have to decide what do I want to put on it. Now, you don't want to just carve your name into the clay. That doesn't really look very good. So let's say you want to make a little slab and it has a shape on it. You can put your slab sticks away and take a chunk of the clay and just roll out a thinner piece. You don't want to put a really thick piece of clay on top of a slab already. So I'm just moving that up and I'm going to roll out a thin piece. You don't really need the slab sticks because you want it actually even thinner than the slab sticks. So I'm going to roll out another pancake. Let's say I want a Nike swoosh. I don't care for Nike, but just for the sake of the demo, we can work on it. Okay, I drew it out. I'm okay with it. I know you guys will pick something more original and creative. Okay, now I have my Nike swoosh, and like you saw in the other video for slipping and scoring, I decide where I want it. I kind of trace it out really lightly, and then I have to score, slip it on, and then smooth it. All right, now it's your turn. Good luck.